I never could remember what intussuscipience and intussusception. Yeah, so, you know.
You're not going to ask me, are you?
Yes. What's the difference between the two?
Well, I know what the difference is, and I know that there is a handy way to remember which is which, right?
Yes.
Which is the invaginating portion.
Yes.
There's a way to remember that, right?
Yes.
But I don't remember the way to remember it, so you're going to have to tell me.
I love it.
Sorry for Saying Sorry Media presents the Purr Podcast, the best podcast for feline medicine and surgery with tips, tricks, and updates for the entire veterinary professional healthcare team. If you are dying to know more about cats, keep on listening. Here are your hosts, Dr. Susan Little, famous cat vet and author of multiple textbooks, and Dr. Jolle Kerpenstein, talented surgeon and social media geek.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Jolle Kerpenstein, and we have the famous...
We're both famous. Dr. Susan Little.
Dr. Susan Little, who I adore. She is wonderful, and this is podcast number 8. Am I correct? 8?
I think so.
Yeah, it is 8. You're as bad as I am, you know?
It's 8 give or take.
I think that I was the erratic one and you were the clever one that have all these numbers in a row, but I guess that's not the case. That's not the case. So are you still in beautiful Nova Scotia?
I am. Not for a lot longer, you know, because I have to go back to the real world and get back on the road. And so my next trips are to Argentina to talk about cat medicine. And then guess where I'm going after Argentina? Did I tell you where I'm going after Argentina?
No.
Where are you from, Jolle?
I'm from Holland.
Not Kansas. Where are you from? You're not from Kansas.
I'm not from Kansas. I'm from Holland. You're going to Holland? No way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, I have a meeting in Holland. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And after Holland, I'm going to Warsaw in Poland, and Dr. Sheila Robertson and I are doing 2 days of feline medicine in Poland. So even though I'm sad vacation is ending, but I actually am very excited about all of that. So what about you? You're still in Kansas, right?
I'm still in Kansas. And, you know, I love this time of year because this is when the butterflies come out. And we have the most beautiful butterflies here in Kansas. It's just unbelievable. So, as a matter of fact, you know, butterflies have a little bit of problem with pesticides and that sort of thing. So they want to stimulate you here to plant trees and plant the flowers that butterflies like. And I love butterfly trees, those purple tree things. And they attract so many butterflies. It's just gorgeous. Yeah. Monarchs and all sorts of big ones. Yeah. So I just can sit in front of the butterfly tree for the rest of the day, do nothing, and enjoy. So.
But instead we're going to do a podcast.
Now I'm also really jealous that you're going to Holland without me. So we need to make a plug, one for the podcast. So absolutely, download it, like it, share it with everybody else. And then if you want us to talk together and do the podcast live for you, it's possible. You just have to invite us. So. Oh yeah. We're even better live, aren't we? I know we are better. We are better live because we interact with the audience. But this is the third out of a series of article discussions that I have with Susan. And we normally take about 30 minutes to do, I thought 2-3 articles, but we talk so much that it only brought us one article at a time. So we have a great article that talks about cats. And Susan, what's going on with you? What do you mean, with me or with the article? With the articles, because we're only talking about what? Oh,
Susan is really on the ball tonight. Yeah. Okay. So,
no, you don't. Yeah. About what? What are we talking about, Susan?
Surgery,
yes. And I think it's a compensation for all those podcasts that you were laughing at me, and you didn't want to talk about surgery, and now we're talking about surgery and surgery and surgery. But we do a lot of other stuff too. So.
Yeah, but it's the last surgery one for a while. We're going to have to switch back to internal medicine after this one.
Yes, that sounds good. And before I forget, when you are in Warsaw with the awesomest of awesome, Sheila Robertson, we need to tape a podcast there. So we need to call in and fix it in a way, because I want to talk about those wonderful AFP guidelines that we have.
Yeah.
And I want to talk with Sheila about that, because she is so awesome.
Okay, I'm making a note.
Make a note.
Let's make it happen.
So, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the abdomen in cats, about a surgical procedure. And
we're talking about intussusceptions, aren't we?
Exactly. And this article was also published in 2018 in one of my favorite journals ever, which is the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery. And Susan, why do I love this journal so much?
Because it's only cat stuff, and it's actually the reason that we do this podcast, other than the fact that we like to talk, and we like to talk to each other, and we like to talk about cats, is there just isn't enough research about cats, and we want to highlight it, and we want to encourage it. And, of course, the premier journal that does that is the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery.
And that's exactly it. And it also combines, so there's two more reasons that I love it. It also combines surgery and medicine together. So there's articles about surgery and medicine, so it's not as segmented as most of the journals. And the third part, which is the most important part for me, is open access. What does that mean?
One version of it, the clinical reports, is open access. And the other version of it, it comes with your membership. So it's a benefit of your membership in either the American Association of Feline Practitioners or the International Society of Feline Medicine. So there you go.
That most of the articles were just open access to anybody.
No, just the clinical reports. The clinical reports version is open access, Mm-hmm. And, of course, all of the guidelines that are published are usually open access. Sure. But the other articles, because the journal actually has more than one version, if you will. And it's the clinical reports version that is online only. It's not print. It's only online, and that one is open access. The other versions are a benefit of your membership.
And I'm a big fan of open access journals. So as a matter of fact, I feel that that's the way to go for the future, because, if there's a firewall of a lot of money that you have to pay for articles, people won't read it. So well done, Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery. So we're going to talk about a surgical procedure called enteroplication in cats with intussusception. So we're going to use a lot of difficult words. It's a retrospective study from 2001
done
to 2016.
In Vienna, I think, right?
Yeah, from Vienna. Yes,
Yeah.
Dr. Haider Leshnik-Katik and Dr. Gilles Dupré. And it was published not that long ago. I'm looking for it.
June, I think. June 1st.
Yeah, June. Yeah. So hot off the press. Hot off the press. So,
the ink isn't even dry.
No, exactly. And so the aim of the study was to report complications, long and short time, and clinical outcomes of cats suffering from surgically reduced intussusception with and without enteroplication. Susan, when I was a student, and as a matter of fact, an intern president, I never could remember what intussuscipients and intussusception. Yeah, so,
You're not going to ask me, are you?
Yes. What's the difference between the two?
Well, I know what the difference is, and I know that there is a handy way to remember which is which, right?
Yes.
Which is the invaginating portion.
Yes.
There's a way to remember that, right?
Yes.
But I don't remember the way to remember it, so you're going to have to tell me.
I love it. So the intussuscipients It is like, so you have the intussusception and the intussuscepient. And the intussuscepient is the receiving part. Recipient.
Okay.
That is receiving.
Oh,
and so
like
that is,
exactly.
And and the intussusception is the one that goes in.
Intussusceptum, T-U-M, tum.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's the other part.
So
okay.
the recipient is the receiving, and the intussusceptum is the one that goes in. And then both together are intussusception.
Deception.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy.
Okay.
It's crazy. Whoever came up with that is probably not a very happy person, I would say. So
I have been stumping students for decades, right? Everybody's still trying to remember that.
I know. But that's why we're here, you know. So there's a couple of cool things. One is there's not a lot of cats. So there's 21 cats.
Yeah.
So, and it's a retrospective study. So it is, once again, case report level, a little bit above that. So on the basis of the pyramid, we cannot put too, and so when we read these articles, we need to be very, very careful with what we say and how hard we say it. And so that is probably also the biggest criticism I have from this article. I will be the critical one again, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So they had 21 cats over a period of 15 years. So obviously it's not that common that they see it in a university setting. But
it's a university, though. We have to point that out. This is not private practice. It's university.
Exactly. So you have been in private practice for a long time. How many do you see per year?
You know, like a year easy can go by without them. It's like anything, you know. They seem to come in clumps, don't they? I'm not really even sure why that happens. You can have a long time and you don't see any, and then you can have, in a short period of time, you might see a number of them. So I've never really added them up. I wouldn't say it's the most common thing we see, but I'm just always cognizant of the fact that studies that come out of referral practices or universities have a different patient population than a first opinion practice, right? So we need to be careful about that too.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, still 21 in 15 years, that's one a year. I guess that's what you would see in private practice, I would guesstimate. So it's not very common, but, and then they looked at a lot of different things, which once again, if you have a retrospective study with a little few cases, it's going to be complicated, but we'll talk about it. But what I thought was so cool was, what, Susan? The Maine Coon. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I've been pondering this, and I'm a little bit suspicious. So this study found, like it says actually in the abstract, it says that male cats or male neuter cats and Maine Coons were overrepresented amongst the cats with intussusceptions. And I've never seen a study report that before, but mind you, how many studies on intussusceptions in cats are published, right? There's just not that very many. So I've been pondering this, and I would never have said that. I mean, I don't perceive that there's a breed predisposition. So one of my problems with studies like this is that for me to know if Maine Coons truly are overrepresented with intussusceptions, I would need to know what is the proportion of Maine Coons in the patient population that this university practice sees. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't put it in context. If they see a whole lot more Maine Coons than other people see, that might influence the number of Maine Coons with intussusceptions they see. You need to know that bigger patient population
and
picture.
I agree with you, but you know, I've been working at the university setting, and you don't see that many cats in universities because, you know, cats are not very common. And Maine Coons are so rare. So this is, I can't believe that. And the Maine Coon is not a native cat from Austria. So it is,
I'm going to disagree with you there for a minute. Hold on. I'm going to disagree with you because amongst pedigreed breeds, Maine Coons have been amongst the top 5 pedigreed breeds and often the top 3 for many, many years in Europe and North America. So as pedigreed breeds go, Maine Coon is way up there.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the domestic short hairs, there's more Maine Coons than domestic short hairs. It's crazy. But I agree. They should have looked at their population,
right?
And so So that would have been really, really cool. And then you can say, so compared to the population that we normally get at Austria Veterinary School, there are so many more Maine Coons in here. And I still think that it is, so, and what I also think is a golden chance lost is they don't discuss it at all. You know, there is no discussion about why it is.
No.
And also, this thing that pulled me out is like, okay, maybe Maine Coons are really stressed and that's why they get it. But there was no discussion here. So give me one reason why Maine Coons. Say it is the Maine Coon. Say, just think about it.
You know,
say it is. What is the reason, Susan?
I honestly don't know, because Maine Coons come from a very heterogeneous background, right? So the genetics of Maine Coons come from your average domestic cat background. So they often have more genetic diversity than, say, like a Persian would or Siamese would, where they've been so changed over the years.
So
Maine Coons less so.
Is it a big mud cat then? I mean, it's just, they saw a big cat and then... No way.
That might be the answer. Jolle, that might be the answer, is that they are actually more similar to domestic short hair or domestic long hair cats. So,
And there you go.
That actually might be the answer. Okay, and one last thing I'm going to say about it is that Maine Coon is a pedigreed breed, at least the way they're using it. But a lot of people bring their long-haired cat into veterinary clinics. And because they've seen pictures of Maine Coons, and then they look at their own cat, they go, well, my cat must be a Maine Coon. And then they register the cat as a Maine Coon. That doesn't mean, so that's what I think. How's that? There's my answer.
No, I love it. And so this is exactly what they should have done in this article. Make this discussion a little bit more. Although it is you saying it, and there's not a lot of research here, obviously. But no, that's really cool. I agree with you. So it's domestic short hairs, which are, feline mixed breeds or mutts. And so this is just a big mutt breed. And
and that may be it.
I'm going to be killed by the Maine Coon Association just by saying that.
Well, but I'd be very careful to take away from this study that Maine Coons are predisposed to intussusception. I think at least based on what they presented. I mean, I have more questions than answers. But anyway, aside from that, they were looking at surgical technique, right?
Yeah, so they looked at, so we know when you have an intussusception that you're always worried about recurrence. And in the dog, recurrence is around 20%, and that's the same in cats when you base that on the literature. So intussusceptions occur, we often don't know why they do. There's lots of reasons in dogs, and in cats it's kind of the same. So we talk about intestinal parasites, foreign bodies, enteritis, masses, surgery, gastroenteritis, so anything can really do it. But what we also know
even IBD, GI lymphoma, like any of those things can affect motility, right?
Exactly. So in the dog we have either they're really young, most of them are puppies, and most of them they're associated with intestinal worms, or they're old. And in the cat, they thought that that's the same, although this article doesn't show that really well.
No, they didn't. They do talk about the fact that the literature says, it's generally younger animals, but there may be a more bimodal distribution. And that makes more sense to me too, because I think an intussusception is just an end point, and there's lots of ways to get to an intussusception, right?
Yeah. And that's exactly it. So, and in cats, you already said IBD and lymphoma are mentioned as common. But that also makes those two groups incomparable. And here we go a little bit with criticism again that they really don't split those two groups up.
I wrote that down actually. When I read this, I wrote that down, that it's a little bit hard to compare these groups when there's too much difference in the underlying causes too, right?
That's exactly it. So, but what they wanted to do is they wanted to talk about doing this surgery, which is called enteroplacation. So to prevent this intussusception from happening, what you can do is you can suture the bowels together. And then you put the bowels next to each other and you put little sutures in between so they cannot get invaginated again. This is also called
you kind of tap them to each other, right?
Yes.
So, you know, Jolle, that never sounded like a good idea to me.
And that's a very good question. So let me talk mainly about dogs, because I think I saw one interception a cat in my whole career, so that kind of tells you that it's not that common. As a surgeon, the only reason I would do enteroplications is in cases where they either had a recurrence, so it was not the first time, but the second time when it happened, or when I saw sometimes these bowels were so hypermotile that they were just, you just pulled out one and then the other one appeared already. And so then I had two tricks. One, I gave the dogs a little bit of atropine, which knocked down the whole GI tract. And then I did an enteroplication. So when these super hypermotile bowels, then I did it. And in puppies that had not the first one, but the second one. In all other cases, I normally don't. Because it's not an innocuous procedure.
So I've never done it in a cat. And this study, even though it certainly has a lot of issues and it's a very small number of cats, they sound a very cautious note about enteroplication too, don't they?
Yes, they do. And so, let's find out why, because, and I think they wanted to do this study is because in cats there's a high, rate of major complications. So that's what they're going to look at. When we look at the materials and methods, like I said, they had 21 cats. It is a little bit difficult to decide what exact surgical method they used. They don't describe it really well. And once again, I think that's the reason why it's not published in a surgical journal. If this would be submitted to a surgical journal, you have to be very, very detailed what you're doing. And they couldn't because there's lots of different surgeons that did it. So,
over a period of time,
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that I was interested about is that they had three methods of dealing with the invagination or intussusception. One was with manual reduction. The other one was manual reduction and then resection. And the third one was resection immediately. And my preference, and this is just personal NS1, is I always try to manual reduce them. And then if I can and the bowel looks okay, then I'll just leave it like that. So, because I prefer not to do a resection, because if you do a resection, you have a higher chance of complications. And they did find quite a lot of complications in these cases.
But I think they only were able to do manual reduction on 2 cases. But as you said, it's not a controlled study, right?
Yeah,
so you don't know if they just tried it. They may not have tried it on every case.
No, and if to be honest, most of them, I think only a few that I could not really manually get out. So you have to be really careful how you do it. Very gentle, and it takes a lot of time. But so the only problem that you can have is that the bowel wall is so swollen that kind of pops open, and then you of course have to respect it. But okay, so the like I said, the surgical method was not described really well. And then the other thing is that they did very weak statistical testing. So, so the results are not, they didn't do multivariate. It's a very small group. So we have to be very, very careful in how we make the final conclusion. And we'll come back to that later. But, so we said 11 Maine Coons of 21, so that's pretty high, but we need to know more details there. Median age was about 38 months, but the enteroplication group was significantly younger. And here is another major confounding variable is because older cats, they often have
different diseases.
And they have different diseases, so they don't do an enteroplication. So you really cannot, that age factor, they didn't even talk about it. So it makes me always a little worried about it. Okay, so I have a question for you, Susan.
Yes.
Here you go. So they had a lot of clinical signs, and I thought was interesting. Vomiting is the clinical sign number 1, next to anorexia. So lethargy, very few had diarrhea, and even less weight loss. So, you know, this
well,
is...
you know what I'm fond of saying? You've probably heard me say many times that cats really have 4 clinical signs, and they use them for every disease. And anorexia and lethargy are clinical signs number 1 and 2.
Exactly.
For every disease.
Exactly. And then we have respiratory signs and vomiting, and then we're done.
Yeah. There you go.
So they took out about 10 centimeters. So my question to you,
I know what your question
Dr.
is.
Little, is how long is the small intestine of a cat?
Oh my gosh! Really long.
Okay, that is not specific.
It's really long.
It's not specific. So, and the reason that I asked for, is it a big deal that we take out? Is it a big deal that we take out 10 centimeters when we know that the size of the cat's small intestine is around?
Well, so I've just Googled it.
Oh, you're so bad.
I know. Hey, at least I'm being honest. I've Googled it, and some authority on Google says it's between 1 and 1.7 meters.
Yeah, so 60 inches.
That sound right?
1.8 meters.
Okay.
Yes. So very good, very good. So 10 centimeters is nothing. So you don't have to worry about that,
right.
and that's the main thing. So the general rule is if you don't trust it, take it out in the bowel, small bowel, you know, and that's why they did so many. So they had 2 cases where they did manual reduction, 8 cases where they did reduction, and then they still did a resection, and then 11 cases where they just took it out as is. So, so, and then if you look at table 1, there you see immediately the problem with all those variables that they have that they didn't look at and the data that they come up with. So that is,
But there's probably just not enough animals per group, right? Like it would be underpowered to look at too many variables, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So the surgery takes about 110 minutes. I think it's rather long, I have to say.
Well, but you're a very good surgeon, so of course it's going to take you less.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm blushing now, you know. And then they found a couple of foreign bodies, a lot of other reasons that they found burnout.
3. So I just pause there for a minute. I thought that was interesting because I've seen that as a cause of intussusception in cats as well, a foreign body. Does that happen in dogs?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So
3
no surprise there.
Yeah. Okay.
So cat is a little dog then.
Well,
for intussusceptions, you know, let's say that. So, so there's, I once again, no histology, and I think that is essential. You know, when you write these things up, please. We need to know what's going on, especially in the older cats. That's one thing I learned about it. The older cats do biopsy, 100%.
Yeah, because so they call them idiopathic, right? You can't call these. Well, I guess you call them.
Hate that word. Hate that.
I know. It's because they've not been investigated. It's not because it's been investigated and nothing was found. At least in this case, most of these cats did not have enough investigation. So we don't know.
And there's quite a lot of cat diseases that are idiopathic.
Yeah.
Hence,
and they're probably really not. Yeah.
Hence,
they're not really.
The reason that we want to get as much literature out about the cat and understand what's going on, because it's the easiest way to say, oh, it's just idiopathic. No, it's not. There's probably a very good reason.
There's a reason.
So, exactly. So other interesting facts is that the survival rate is 95% of the surgery, so that's really good. But then it drops down to 76% until discharge. 25% death.
I know. I thought that was very disappointing.
Weird.
76% survived until discharge. That's not good.
No, it's not good. No, I agree.
No.
I agree. So then they just start talking about hospitalization, which was 4 days, and then complications. I thought it was really interesting. Most of those complications are not really major, but they then listed the major complications. And Susan, did you find a major mistake in this article?
Did I find a major mistake?
Yes.
Gosh, you're really putting me on the spot tonight.
I know.
What page is the mistake on?
The page is page 4, second column, halfway.
Yeah.
So I won't make you suffer. The abstract.
Yeah, because I'll have to sit here and read the whole thing. Okay.
In results, it says duration of surgery time of hospitalization, complication rate, and outcomes did not differ between the two groups. So let's now go to page 4, where it says that there was a difference in post-operative complication rates between the two groups.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at that.
Mistake number 1. So, and I
Little
think
mistake,
it's the abstract is something that you should write at the end. Often people write the abstract already while they're writing, but things change. And sometimes you do the statistics different and that sort of thing. And then you forget that stupid abstract. And that's probably what happened here. Yeah. Because that's a big difference. It's 70 versus 40% complication. And so the non-enteroplacation had 70% and the enteroplacation had 40%. So that would be a reason for me to say, you should do enteroplacation on everybody because you have less complications. However, it's a different group of cats. It's a different group of cats. So cats with underlying disease have a higher chance of complications. So if you have lymphoma.
And that makes sense.
And that makes sense. So, it is logical
You're
there.
Going to be hit. Yeah.
It also kind of diffuses their end conclusion a little bit, I have to say. So
it does. It does. So, it's kind of hard really to draw a lot of conclusions from this. I mean, it's very nice. It's a very descriptive paper, and I like that. But it's a little difficult to draw conclusions.
Absolutely. And then, when they describe the follow-up, where they have very few clients that they could reach at the end, that's even more worrisome. So
gets a little harder. Yeah. So what I think one of the big take-home message from this paper is, for me, if you have a cat with an intussusception, I'm not actually, for me, this paper doesn't answer, do I do enteroplacation, yes or no? The big message for me from this paper is that please get a diagnosis, right? So please go in there, unless it's obvious. If it's a foreign body, then it's your diagnosis, right? But if it's not obvious, if it's not, full of worms, it's not a foreign body, there isn't an obvious reason, then please take multiple biopsies and get a diagnosis. That's the take home for me from this paper.
Yeah. And I totally agree. What I think is really good from them is that they have quite a big section where they write about limitation of the study. That's very, very important because there is a lot of limitations here. But then when we go back to the conclusions and relevance, they are pretty strong in saying, although the number of cases was limited, our results suggest that enteroplacation should be cautiously performed in cats with intussusception as maybe associated with blah, blah, blah. And I think that is you
can't do that.
No. You can't. So
I don't think it answers the question. Yeah, it doesn't really answer the question.
So for me, I'm totally with you. Interesting study, lots of cases, at least, because it's very rare. Yes, you have to be very, very careful with enteroplacation. Don't use it in cases where it shouldn't be used in. And interesting that these intussusceptions occur in cats. They have to look into the pathophysiology of the process. And then they have to look into why Maine Coons are so overrepresented there. So, and I think we gave them the answer. So that's really, really cool.
Well, we may have. We had some ideas anyway.
Exactly. So I have one question. So you are doing a lot of editing, and I know that you're the semicolon wizard, and it really irritates you when people use semicolons wrong. Is that correct?
Well, I try not to be like a punctuation nerd, but, you can't help it if you're an editor. You know what I'm really a nerd about is the Oxford comma. We've talked about the Oxford comma.
Oh, yes, the Oxford comma. Yeah. So, the one thing that I get really irritated about is the word histopathology.
Why?
Or pathology.
Okay.
So, I think it's just histology, isn't it?
It's histopathology.
No, it doesn't make sense. Why is it not histology?
Goodness, you're making me Google everything tonight.
I know, it's crazy. But let that one go. But that's one thing that I always get.
Okay, hold on. What? I have an answer for you. I have an answer from Wikipedia. Wait. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here's the answer from Wikipedia. Wikipedia says histology is a study of tissues. Histopathology is specifically of diseased tissues.
Okay, so people can use it. But what about pathohistology then?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't Google that.
No, I know. All right. So let's see if we have another hot news thing. So it's time for hot news.
And now, hot cat news.
Yeah, I have some really cool news.
Oh, cool.
Can I talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that one of my great loves in feline medicine is infectious diseases.
Uh-huh.
I don't like that cats get them, but I am fascinated, especially by viral diseases. And I've done some research on feline leukemia virus and feline immunodeficiency virus. But, so what I'm going to tell you about is a new virus, a brand new virus identified in cats. And how often does that happen? How often do you
very often.
Right? That there's a new virus. Like, look at canine influenza. That's kind of a new thing, and it's all over the news, right? How often? It's rare. Okay. So, some researchers at the University of Sydney in Australia, Dr. Julia Beattie, who is amazing, her and her colleagues, they're amazing investigators, and they discovered a virus in an immunocompromised cat. Now, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's called a hepadnavirus, H-E-P-A-D-N-A.
A what?
Hepadnavirus.
Hepadnavirus.
Oh, hepadnavirus. And it's a type of virus, hepatitis, liver disease. So it's from a group of viruses that is known to cause hepatitis and liver cancer in other species. So early days, don't know what the significance is of finding this in the cat. The cat they found it in also had feline immunodeficiency virus, right? So it was immunocompromised and may have made it susceptible to getting one of these unusual viruses. But so a new virus is discovered, and now, of course, we have to go out and look at a whole bunch of other cats. Maybe there's lots of cats with that virus out there. We don't know. So I just find that fascinating that still there's 10 viruses. Huh?
Yeah. I said that's uber cool. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Cool. Cooler
so
than
there you
cool.
go. That's my news.
Thank you for sharing. So I have something too. And
okay.
So this is not as highly scientific as the one that you gave, but it was published in Medical News today. And it said that cats boost your health. So it's an article that was boost your health. So it describes how cats can make you be more healthy. And it was written by a lady, and then what I like about it, that it said it's fact-checked by someone else. Not that that means anything, but so it just writes about all the things that cats can do. They talk about cat cafes. They talk how it can help you, feel better about yourself.
They lower your blood pressure, don't they?
They lower your blood pressure. They have multiple benefits for your body. You know, infants that grow up with cats have less chance of allergies.
Yeah,
There's lots of different things that cats do. And then the other thing is that it says about how cats can train us to do well. So
cats train us?
Yeah, how cats can train us.
What do they train us to do?
For instance, they were talking about a study about children with autism, spectrum disorder.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, and that's valuable emotional support, and that they do.
Very cool.
Like you said, that they are interesting because, you know, FIP looks quite like HIV, so there's a lot of difference of the two, but
they contribute to human research. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So all the things that cats do.
Very cool.
I thought that was a nice.
That's why we love them.
That's why we love them. And thank you so much, Susan, for this podcast, and very excited about this podcast. Every day I'm having more fun doing them.
I know, we have so much fun. There's so much to talk about.
Exactly. So we probably won't be done until we're like 100 with all these topics that we have to go. So if you know any good topics, please send us a text on. Where can they reach us?
We're all over social media, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Cat Vet Susan on almost all social media. I'm easy to find. Cat Vet Susan. Send us a message. Yep. And what about you?
And you can reach me with Global Veterinary Surgery on Facebook and on Twitter, Instagram, or just using Jolle NL. That's JOLLENL. And we are more than happy.
We're not hard to find.
To cover topics that you want to hear. And once again, please rate us with a 5-star review if you like this podcast. And
tell your friends.
So, sorry?
They should tell their friends.
Yes, tell your friends. So, Susan, thank you so much for everything, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, Jolle. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, this is Dr. Jolle Kurpenstein. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please note that all opinions given here are purely Dr. Susan's and my interpretation. Veterinary medicine is a beautiful but complicated profession, as no animal or case is exactly the same.
Well, there's one thing for sure.
Yeah.
Jolle and I have strong opinions, and we're not afraid to say them. So that's a good thing, though, isn't it?
Dr. Susan Little is a feline medicine specialist with 2 cat-only hospitals in Ottawa, Canada. She is best known as an international speaker and as the author and editor of 2 textbooks, The Cat Clinical Medicine and Management and August's Consultations in Feline Internal Medicine. Along with 3 cats, she also admits to owning 2 dogs. You can follow her on social media with the handle @CatVetSusan. Dr. Jolle Kurpenstein is a diplomat of the American and European College of Veterinary Surgeons and a big cat fan. His specialties range from surgical oncology and reconstruction to minimally invasive surgery. He is the author of 2 textbooks on basic and reconstructive surgery. Did you know he was allergic to cats? Jolle works currently for Hill's Pet Nutrition. You can follow him on social media with the handle @GVetSX.